Over the past couple of weeks, coronavirus cases have been spiking in a number of different states, and as a result of that, states, especially ones that opened really early and really fast and really irresponsibly, are now having to shut down once again. And one great example of that, at least in a limited sense, is Arizona, with Governor Doug Ducey ordering the state's bars, gyms, movie theaters, and water parks to shut down for at least 30 days, amid thousands of new coronavirus cases in the state, including a one-day record of more than 3,800 this last Sunday. It was the 7th time in the past 10 days that new cases in Arizona exceeded 3,000. He also ordered public schools to delay the start of classes until August 17th. He went on to say, "Our expectation is that our numbers next week will be worse." He described the state's coronavirus data as brutal. Republican governor, who, by the way, he opened initially before White House guidelines recommended them to. So he was ahead of even Trump on the reopening. And Arizona's one of the hardest hits.
He is historically incompetent and more, committing malfeasance here. Who wants to go to a water park right now? Are you kidding me? Water park? Not necessary. Is that an essential business? It's what the governors of Florida, Texas, and Arizona have done. It is unbelievable how sociopathic they have behaved. Like, the way that they have just decided to give free rein to business, and DeSantis won't even say masks are required in public. It's the bare minimum. It's the bare minimum. And you know what? It stimulates the economy. People have to go buy masks, dude. If that's all you care about, fine. Invest in mask ownership and just say, okay, go buy your mask from whatever company I hold a ton of stock in. It's just absurd because it's become this bizarre cultural identifier when really all it is just showing respect for your fellow human beings, for your grandma, for your uncle, for your friends, whatever it is. I mean, Japan is a great example. Right off the bat, they just were like, masks. And they've had fewer, I think, than 1,000 deaths in Japan. They didn't really shut down that much either. And that was because they were responsible about wearing masks.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, we live in a nation that's filled with weird Republican cowboys who just want to buck death. And I don't understand it, but that's the weird, bizarro American way.
Exactly. I guess the governor of Arizona, thank you for sort of going back into lockdown. Wouldn't necessarily have been necessary if you just maintained the other one for a little bit longer until we were actually past this. But honestly, any Republican doing the bare minimum that is considered responsible, I actually think, because they're going to be attacked by Trump, either publicly or privately, we have to give them some positive reinforcement, I think, for them to do it, because they're going to be attacked. And we're already seeing that in some places. So Texas also had to sort of pump the brakes a bit on their reopening. And one thing that's been sort of limited pretty significantly is bars once again. And now the bar owners are striking back, saying, we're not the problem. And you might remember in the first lockdown, Abbott locked down a bunch of the businesses, and then the businesses started to fight back, saying, we're not going to stay shut down. You can't take away our liberty. And then Abbott acted as if the order he'd put into effect was some outside invading force, and he started speaking out against it because he was so afraid of angry Texans. But Texas is being crazy hard hit as well with coronavirus right now. And will they maintain these lockdowns if there is this sort of like brewed by Fox News opposition to any sense of responsibility? And so he's seeing the strike back. Maybe Ducey will see some strike back in Arizona as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was a huge test of our national cohesiveness, and honestly, I would portray it as patriotism. Feel like since World War II, where a lot of people had to be drafted, young men and women at home were making materials for the war effort, etc. That was a huge test of national identity and patriotism, I guess. And now it seems like the so-called patriots who care so much about American lives don't care that much when it affects their ability to go to Chuck E. Cheese or whatever the hell they want to do.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great example of who the true patriots are when it comes to actually protecting Americans, which is really should be in the top 3 of patriotic ideals. I don't know.
You'd think. Yeah, but unfortunately, as much as they say they are patriotic, some of them are just deferential to Trump. That's it. And that's why you have things like you talked about DeSantis not making masks mandatory, and him now blaming younger people for the rise in coronavirus cases, claiming that they can't be forced to comply with social distancing measures. Of course, who would know since he's not trying? He has given up because if he takes it seriously to stop people in Florida from dying, Trump might get mad at him. And DeSantis doesn't have the testicular fortitude to stand up to Trump being peeved with him even briefly.
Say testicular again.
I don't want to. But anyway, and here's the thing too. It's not just about saving lives. Kind of feel like it would be enough if it was, but it isn't just. It's also that while they were talking during the first wave, or I would say wave 1A, because we're still very much in the first, just spiking once again, they were saying, you want to keep us locked down, we want to save the economy. And we said even then, that is not what is actually going on. Because if you open now, that is not actually going to benefit the economy. It is going to result in future lockdowns, which we're now experiencing, and it's going to do even more damage to these businesses. And now, economists are saying, Washington Post has an article today, that a national mask mandate could save 5% of GDP in the near term. Because getting rid of the pandemic fully, more quickly, is better than limping along and then seeing a spike, and then limping along and then seeing a spike, and never having things go back to normal until, hopefully, in a year or more, a vaccine is available. So, turns out that our strategy wasn't just better in terms of public health, and just obviously more moral, it was also more fiscally sound.
Well, I mean, that's the Republican philosophy personified, where they are so fixated on short-term gains and benefits that they're unable to see straight. I mean, it extends beyond the reaction to coronavirus. So a great example is the fixation on pumping up fossil fuel companies and big oil. That is fine for the short-term growth of the United States economy and probably for their own stock portfolios and for their political donations. But when it comes to the long-term success of the United States economy, investing in renewable energy like European nations are doing and other areas of the globe are doing, that is certainly better for the overall health of the economy. But they're unable to see that. So it's the same thing with coronavirus. Mm-hmm. They're not thinking long term; they're thinking short term, and it's paying dividends. Obviously, opposite of paying dividends, it's hurting us.
It's incurring fees
daily. There we go.
Yeah, 100%. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.